Hi, this is Emma Rowena going live on a Monday again. Welcome, whoever you are, wherever you are. Fear. We're talking about fear this week. It's quite a topic. It's a topic that affects all of us. And it's a topic that affects all of us in ways that it doesn't necessarily need to do. We need fear. So initially in the post here I asked, do we need fear? Yes, we need fear. We need fear when we need to respond to a threat, to a real threat. If a tiger comes towards you, you will feel fear. And you will react according to the fear. So maybe sometimes we freeze, that's a fear reaction. You might try to fight, but most likely you'll try to run. Flight. Fight or flight, and then you have the freeze. The flight reaction is probably, in this instance, with the tiger, the most appropriate one. And in order for you to run faster than you would normally, your body, initiated by the fear, starts to do certain things to save your energy for the running. It turns off intellectual thinking, it turns off the immune system, the digestive system, and lots of mechanisms that happens so that you can run faster than you normally would. So that you can reach that tree faster and climb that tree faster than you normally would. Now, we don't usually tend to meet a lot of tigers, in my world at least. We don't have tigers here in Norway, for one. But there are dangers still. But there are also a lot of imagined dangers. So we don't need the fear all the time. But do we feel fear all the time? My guess is that we feel it a lot more than we need to and a lot more than we realize. Take stress, for instance. Do you ever feel stressed? I feel stressed quite often. Well, not that often, but especially if I have to catch a bus or reach a meeting or something to a certain time. If there's a deadline or if there's a set time. And I talked about this in my mindset challenge this summer, this 10-day challenge about the fear. And I remember talking then about a meeting I'd had with somebody who said, stress isn't fear, stress is stress. And I said, but why do you feel stress? Well, because I've got too much work. I need to do it and I don't have time to do it. And I couldn't quite sort of argue. It actually brought me a very interesting reflection afterwards. And it is that if you have a lot of work and you have a set of time and you don't think you have enough time to do it, there's a certain element of fear. You're afraid of not doing it in time, afraid of not managing to do the work. Why are you afraid? Maybe your boss will scold you, maybe your customers will disappear, your clients will be disapproved, maybe you won't get the payment that you need. So there's a fear of not reaching or accomplishing something that you have set the deadline or you have been told that you need to do. So this is stress. Stress is fear. We have stress in relation to money, fear of not having enough money. We have stress in relations, fear of what people think. So I would equate stress with fear. I would equate worry with fear. I would equate, those are the main topics I think, but we'll get into it. The reason I brought up fear is because we also have not only the individual fear that we live by according to our patterns, according to our belief systems, according to our pressure from outside, according to our pressure from our own goals, motivations, but also ideas of who we need to be. And I talked about identity last week. Sometimes we live an identity that we don't really choose or want, and this can cause us stress. And when I talk about identity, I mean the kind of person that you want to show up as, to be, the the qualities that you want to nourish in your life. Are you shy? Are you strong-headed? Are you that kind of identity? If you're interested in seeing more about that, then the videos will be on the Facebook page and on my YouTube page, Emma Rowena. So you can check it out there. But this fear, yes, fear of the individual fear is quite powerful in our lives, but you have one more extremely powerful, almost hidden fear that a lot of us don't realize that we're affected by, and it's the collective fear. And we felt it in the pandemic strongly, and we feel it today strongly with all the unrest going on, the wars going on, the prices soaring because of the wars, specifically now in Europe also, and in the West, the Ukraine war, Russia-Ukraine war, sorry, stumbling a bit today. And in Norway we have these electricity prices that are soaring. We've never had trouble with that in Norway, and people are finding it hard to manage their economy, so there's a lot of fear there, and the fears start stacking up. And my invitation to you today is to investigate, and this is always a little bit of what I do on these Mondays, is I ask you to investigate your own patterns, your own state right now, today. Where are you now? What are your fears today? Now, you might not even know a lot of them. You might not acknowledge a lot of them. And what's more, we tend to try to avoid them. We don't want the fear, so we try to pretend, or we try to push it away, or we do all kinds. We do breathing, we do meditations, we do walks in the forest, we run, we cry, we shout, we yell at other people, we act out towards other people, towards ourselves, in order to avoid feeling fear. But is fear so dangerous? Isn't it the danger that you think that you have, which is causing the fear, that would be the thing that would be dangerous to you? So if you're stressed about not catching a bus because you have to go to a meeting, then that you have a fear of not making it, which will cause a higher pulse, shallow breathing, a lot of anxiety, tension. So you want to look at what it is that's causing the fear. Is it so dangerous if I don't make it? Well, yes, maybe. Maybe your future is at stake. Okay, what do? You deal with it. You acknowledge the fear. I'm terrified of not making this meeting. Please, guys, if you've got somebody around you, help me. I'm terrified. Can you help me tomorrow so that I can do it? Okay, I need to get up earlier so that I can make this. And if something happens, something comes up, okay, can I make a phone call to that person and say, listen, this happened. I'm so sorry. I hope I can still come to this meeting. I really want to see you or meet you, or I'm doing my best. There's always something you can do, but you need to acknowledge that there's a fear. If you realize, I'm terrified of this situation. I'm terrified of not having enough money, for instance, which a lot of people are struggling with. This feeling of lack, and we talk about manifesting, and you have to pretend that you have it, and I'm all for that, but I'm also all for acknowledging where you are, because that's when you can start moving and shifting and rising. So what is your worry? What is your fear? What is your stress? And the beauty of doing this is that you get to know yourself a little better. And sometimes we're terrified of getting to know ourselves a little better because we think we're horrible people, or because we've been talking ourselves down a lot, and who'd want to meet such a horrible person? But it's not true. If you get to know yourself a little bit better and get to acknowledge your emotions, your fears, your whatever it is, then you realize that it's quite a safe place to be. And I can vouch for that, because I've done this myself, this journey, and I know if something happens, if I'm afraid of something, I just make sure that I acknowledge it and come back to myself. So everything we're talking about. This is my big mantra: acknowledge and accept. So if you're afraid of your fear, if you're afraid of looking at the fear, try it. It's not dangerous. It's an emotion. It's your reaction. It's your natural reaction to something that might be a natural and an obvious danger, or an unnatural danger, but it's still your reaction. And you can acknowledge that, then you can look at the danger. Is it true? Can it be solved? If you're terrified of not having enough money, okay, what can I do? Can I find a way of solving this? Can I get some extra assignments, or can I cut down on something? Can I invest in something? Can I ask for help? There's always a solution, whether you think it or not. But the main thing is, you'll never see that solution if you do not acknowledge what is causing your fear. We freeze in fear sometimes, and we don't need to do that. And I'll share some exercises on Wednesday on how we can face and deal with these fears. But my bottom line here, and I'm not going to make this a very long one, because it's actually, in my view, this talk, it's actually, in my view, quite obvious and quite easy and quite simple. All you need to do is recognize. Now, I'm saying it's simple. It's not easy. I'm saying it's simple, because we need to practice this, and we need to learn to acknowledge what we're feeling, as I've mentioned in many times before. We need to take that moment. Why am I feeling so uneasy? Why am I feeling so stressed? What's going on? What am I afraid of? I'm afraid that if I don't make that meeting, I'm going to lose my job, whatever it is. Or I'm afraid that I'm never going to have enough money to support my children, or to buy food next day, or whatever. Find a solution, but acknowledge the fear first. You will find the solution once you come home, once you acknowledge your feeling of fear, without shame, without guilt, without feeling that it's unnecessary, or it's no real danger, I shouldn't be feeling this fear. You're feeling it. Feel it. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge yourself. And when you're there, when you're feeling that, then you can start looking at what it is you're afraid of, and whether to see that whether it is truly a reason to be fearful, or whether it is a constructed fear, or whether, because we have these constructed fears out of ideas of who we need to be, ideas of how we need to show up. Maybe you think you have to have that much money because you need to have that kind of a car in order to fit in, or whatever. How real is this fear? Are you going to survive? Are you going to make it? Do you have a way of making it? Do you have a skill you can use to find your way through? Try it out. Explore it. And you can even write it down. This is my fear. Solution, and I'll get more into that on Wednesday. But the reason I'm not giving it all now is because I invite you, I challenge you to explore yourself a little first, to find out where you're at, what's driving you, what's driving your stress, what's driving your worry, what's driving your fear. Very often it's an old story. Something from childhood, your upbringing. If you've grown up in poverty, then you're afraid of not having enough. If you've grown up with, alcoholic parents. My father was an alcoholic. I've had to tackle the fear of myself, maybe having an addictive nature, which I don't. But the fear has still been there. because you've learned that this is a possibility and you've seen what it can do. And there are all kinds of stories from our past that we carry with us. There are also belief systems in our societies. It's dangerous, the pandemic, for instance, Corona, it's dangerous to go out and touch. I mean, I'm not even going to go into that. It's a minefield, but there are all kinds of messages about what you had to be afraid of. And we forget to tune in and say, okay, is this real? For me, and I was tackling a lot of confusion in that pandemic because I had people feeling strongly both ways about the lockdowns and about the vaccinations and everything, and I was overcrowded because everybody was feeling it so strongly, and that became my fear of not knowing what to choose and not knowing which way to lean or what was my truth. And I landed on it eventually, but I had to step back and find a way. It was overwhelming. So this happens sometimes. The information that we are given or shared or around us, the news, for instance, when you listen to the news. I just went to Brighton this weekend, and my sister-in-law, she said she'd heard the voice of a politician that she does not like, and she's sort of terrified of. And I'm not going to mention the name here because I'm not going to get into that, but she could feel it in her body, the fear of what happens if this person comes to power. You might guess who it is, but and we do this if if we're bombarded with all the bad news on the radio, you will feel you'll be entrenched in fear. So be a little wary of that. Notice, what are your reactions to the news, for instance? What are your reactions to what people say around you? Or what are your reactions to what people say to you? I used to be afraid of approaching people because I was afraid of what people would think of me. I now love talking to people, and I do it anytime because I'm not worried, because I've got closer to myself and I feel safe. And people can't really harm me anymore because I've got myself. So that's my imitation. This is why I'm not giving you all the exercises now, because I want you to explore, or I invite you to explore. And if you're here, maybe you're interested in exploring and developing and getting closer to yourself and finding a way of feeling strong, confident, free. I think that was what I wanted to share today. So don't be afraid of the fear. Feel it. See if you can feel it, really feel it. It's just a feeling. Now, anxiety, if you get an anxiety attack, that's a different matter. I'm not talking to you in this sense here. That would be working deeper, that has a lot of different connotations. It's initially possibly the same mechanism, but if you're overwhelmed to the degree that you do not think you'll survive by this fear, then I would urge you to get some help. But this, I'm talking about the fear that all of us actually are very much governed by in our lives, and we don't always need to be. Only when the danger is real do we need to feel fear and react on it. Okay, my dears, I wish you a beautiful day. I see my mother is here from New Zealand. I think it's evening. I know it's evening. It's 9 o'clock in the evening there, so hello, Mum. And hello everybody else, and have a beautiful day. And I'll be back on Wednesday with exercises or suggestions on how you can go a little bit more practically approach this fear, how you can go forward with dealing and breaking through your fear a little more goal-oriented or dedicated, if you like. I'll see you then, and on Friday we'll meditate a little bit on the coming home and feeling safe. So that's another exercise that you will be given if you like. Have a beautiful day. See you then. Bye-bye. Hi everyone. I forgot to do the breathing exercise on the live talk earlier. Oh my goodness. I am not quite with it today. But the good news is you can do it anywhere. And I'm here waiting for the ferry, and it's about to actually get here. And it only takes a few minutes, so we'll do it anyway. What you do, wherever you are, you just decide to take 3 deep breaths. And with the first inhale, as we talk about fear, imagine that you breathe in this beautiful energy of peace and safety into your heart. And as you breathe out, release any fear, any worry, any stress from your body and your system. One more breath. Breathe in this sense of peace, of calm, into your heart, into your essence. And as you breathe out, let go of any fear, any stress in your body and system. Breathe in. One last breath of peace and calm and safety. And breathe out any stress and any worry as you anchor your safety and peace into your hips and down in through your feet. And the last thing I'm going to ask you to do before I board is to bring your awareness to the center of your heart. Bring your full awareness to the heart, to this peace and the calm in your heart, and give thanks for yourself. Gratitude. Gratitude eradicates fear. There's no room for fear when you feel grateful. And you can do this any time of the day. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.